Mike, what challenges did you have to overcome to get where you are today?
I think the biggest challenge and the biggest problem that I've had to face to get where I am today is the same challenge that everybody else has to face. I was always a kid who never thought he was worthy. I was always a kid who never thought he was good enough. I was a kid who always thought other people were better than me. I was a kid that used to beat myself up relentlessly. So the biggest challenge I've had to overcome my entire life has been me. I have something that's called an overactive inner critic. I'm so self-critical. When people compliment me on something, I always see the fault in everything I've done. While they see a job well done, I just see problems. If I come off of when I came off a football field after a game of footy when I was a kid and I'd scored 3 tries, everyone would go, "Well done, you scored 3 tries." My first thought was, "Yeah, I should have got 5." So the biggest problem I've had to face is my own self-doubt.
If you were able to give your 12-year-old self advice, what would it be?
Yeah, that's a really tough question because my 12-year-old self didn't listen to me. The best advice I think that I could have given myself is what other people think about you, Mike, is none of your business. What you think of you is the only thing that matters. And I think, that's some advice that everyone should carry. We live in a world now where, we're trying to live up to everybody else's expectations, when the only expectation that we really have to fulfill, the only one that will bring us happiness, is our own self-expectation. So we should lower the bar a little bit and accept ourselves for who we are, not what we think other people expect us to be.
Why is it so important to look after your mental health, and do you have any tips?
Mental health, physical health, they're all the same thing. If you're constantly beating yourself up, if you're constantly putting yourself down, if you're constantly measuring yourself against other people's achievements, it's very draining. And, our brains are like our bodies, can only take so much punishment before they shut down and close off. And looking after your mental health is probably more important than looking after your physical health. Because if you're not mentally strong, it doesn't matter how big your muscles are, you're going to break.
Mike, do people treat you any differently now that you're New Zealander of the Year?
Yes, they do. Since I became New Zealander of the Year, I have had lots of people coming up to me and asking me to do things for free. People that ignored me before I was New Zealander of the Year, people who never spoke to me before I became New Zealander of the Year, suddenly want to be my friend. And they don't want to be my friend to get to know me, to take me out for cups of tea, to find out what we have in common. They are just calling to use me, so I can, asking me to do things for them so they can look good. And that sounds really horrible, but that's a truthful answer, Liam. So how I keep all of that in perspective is this. All the people that were with me before I became New Zealander of the Year, all my friends and the people who supported me when I was having my struggles in life, they're the most important people in the world to me. I'm still really polite to all of these people who want to get to know me now, but I remind myself all the time that the people that care about you when you're down are more important than the people that care about you when you're up.
Also, did you have any role models growing up?
I had lots of role models growing up. My dad was one of my favorite role models. My dad was, a talented sportsman and good musician, very encouraging in a dad kind of way. Quick to criticize, not so quick to pat me on the head for anything I did right. But, for me, as a young boy growing up, I used to always look up to my dad.
What are your best memories growing up?
You see, Liam, that's a really hard question because as a kid growing up and having that sense of not being worthy, having that sense that other people were better than me, my brain filtered out all the best parts of growing up and only ever focused on the negative things. In saying that, positive memories for me, I love playing sport. I love being out on the paddock with my friends and running around and I love the physical aspects of childhood. Academically, I wasn't that gifted, and there wasn't really much room in my head for academia simply because it was filled with a little man who used to beat me up all the time. So for me, I guess running around on the field with my mates, getting into physical confrontation like games of bull rush and football were the perfect distraction for a young fella to get away from himself.
Mike, you're well known as being a comedian. How hard has it been funny?
That would be a really hard question to ask anyone who doesn't know what it's like to be funny. For me, that's like going up to Eric Clapton, one of the world's best guitarists, and saying to Eric Clapton, how hard is it to play the guitar? For Eric Clapton, it's not hard. It's the easiest thing in the world. So for me, humor has always been something that I was born with. It's a gift that I have. I can't play a note on a guitar, but I'm really good at being comedy. So for me, being funny comes naturally. But for other people, I imagine it would be a real struggle.
All right, thank you so much for letting me interview you, Mike.
Hey, Liam, can I just say thank you for doing what you're doing? It's people like you wanting to find out what makes people like me tick, and passing that information on to other people is a true gift, brother. And I thank you for taking the time to interview me.